My beloved child, I know how much that silence broke you, the unanswered messages, the sudden distance, the cold withdrawal from someone who once made your soul feel seen. You replayed every word, wondering what you did wrong, where the connection went, why they vanished without an explanation. You've carried that ache quietly, pretending you're fine while secretly asking me, why did they leave, God? Why didn't you stop them? But hear me now, because this truth will set your heart free. Their silence was my protection. What you saw as rejection was actually divine intervention. I allowed their absence not because you were unworthy, but because your spirit was outgrowing theirs. You were asking me for peace, but you were clinging to what kept you anxious. You were praying for clarity, but I couldn't give it while their influence clouded your mind. I saw conversations they hid from you, intentions they masked behind smiles, motives they dressed up as affection. I saw how the connection was beginning to dim your light, how you were shrinking yourself to keep their comfort intact, how you ignored your intuition because you wanted to believe their promises more than you trusted my warnings. So I pulled them away, not to punish you, but to preserve you. My child, I need you to understand that sometimes I protect you through absence. When people walk out without closure, it's because the truth behind their exit would have broken you worse than their silence. I had to remove them quietly because you were too loyal to let go even after I showed you the signs. You didn't lose them, they were never meant to stay. Their chapter in your story was necessary, but it was never supposed to be the whole book. I used them to awaken something in you, to teach you the difference between attachment and alignment, between being loved and being used, between feeling chosen and being chained. Their leaving didn't ruin you, it rerouted you. It forced you to turn inward, to rediscover the parts of yourself you neglected while trying to prove your worth to someone incapable of recognizing it. I know how lonely those nights were when you kept checking your phone, waiting for a message that never came, thinking maybe they'd realize your value. But I saw every tear, and I want you to know that I counted each one, not as sorrow, but as seeds. Each tear watered the soil of your rebirth. You were never abandoned, I simply stood between you and the storm they carried. You prayed for peace, so I had to remove what kept disturbing it. You asked me for love, so I had to separate you from what was only pretending to give it. I couldn't bless what wasn't built on truth. You couldn't see the snakes while you were focused on the garden. And now, as you sit in the quiet aftermath, thinking you were left behind, heaven is whispering, you were saved in disguise. That door closing was me redirecting your path towards something purer, something that won't ghost you, confuse you, or drain your spirit. I am sending connections that don't require you to beg to be understood. I am preparing hearts that will mirror the energy you give freely. But first, you must see the exit not as betrayal but as rescue. I know your heart feels unfinished, but I am completing it in ways no human could. The peace that's coming will make you grateful for every unanswered text, every ignored call, every sudden goodbye. Because the truth is, if they hadn't ghosted you, you would have stayed, and if you had stayed, you would have settled. My hand was in that disappearance, my voice in that silence, my love in that ending. You are not hard to love, you were just loving people incapable of depth. And now that I've cleared the space, I can fill it with what's divinely meant for you. So don't chase after what I removed. Don't reopen doors I've sealed shut for your protection. Trust me, their silence was the loudest way I could tell you, this is not your home. Something better, someone true, and a peace that won't leave without warning are already on their way. Your story is not ending, it's just beginning where their part ends. My child, I know you still look back sometimes, not because you want them again, but because part of you still doesn't understand how love could disappear so easily. You think, if it was real, why did they leave without a word? Why didn't they fight for me? But the truth is, they didn't walk away because you weren't enough. They left because they couldn't go where I am taking you. You prayed for me to remove anything not meant for your future, and when I did, it broke you. But remember this, I will never take something from you unless I plan to replace it with something far greater. You see, rejection and redirection look the same when you're standing in the middle of the loss. But time will reveal what my protection really did for you. That ghosting wasn't random, it was spiritual disconnection. Their energy could no longer coexist with your elevation. Their silence is proof of what you didn't see, their inability to match your frequency, your faith, your purpose. I shielded you because I saw what was hidden behind their intentions, the conversations that carried your name but not your truth, the envy disguised as concern, the manipulation dressed as love. And though you thought their absence meant something was wrong with you, it actually revealed what was wrong with them. You were loyal to someone I was trying to free you from. You called it love, but I called it bondage. You were holding on to someone whose assignment in your life had already expired, and keeping them was delaying your next chapter. So I allowed the silence. I let them disappear so that you could finally hear me. Because when their voice went quiet, mine grew louder. I began to whisper into your spirit the truth you had ignored for so long. You were never the one who needed to chase, fix, or prove. You were the light, and they were only drawn to your warmth, not prepared to sustain it. They didn't vanish to hurt you, they vanished because my presence began to surround you, and their spirit couldn't stay in what I sanctified. Some people exit not because of what you did wrong, but because your anointing began to expose their intentions. The moment you stepped into purpose, I started shaking the connections that weren't built for it. That's why their energy changed, why their tone grew distant, why you felt them slipping even before they left. It wasn't confusion, it was confirmation. The more you tried to hold on, the more uncomfortable I made it, not out of cruelty, but to push you toward freedom. Because I knew if I didn't close that door for you, you would have kept knocking on it long after I moved your destiny somewhere else. You see, the person who ghosted you wasn't your loss, they were your lesson. They taught you to listen when your spirit feels uneasy, to value your own peace more than their promises, to stop romanticizing inconsistency. I'm teaching you discernment through disappointment. Every unanswered message was a redirection, every ignored moment was me building your endurance. I allowed it to hurt so deeply because I wanted you to finally understand that your worth can't be validated by someone who doesn't know who they are. You keep asking me, God, why didn't they explain? But how could they explain something even they didn't understand? They were running from conviction, not from you. My light within you exposed the parts of them they weren't ready to face. And now, as you stand in the aftermath of what you thought was love, you are finally seeing what true divine protection looks like. Because if they had stayed, you would have mistaken their presence for peace. You would have built your dreams around someone who wasn't designed to hold them. I let the silence speak what words never could. And through that silence, I am rebuilding you, stronger, wiser, softer but no longer naive. You are learning to bless what left, to thank me for what didn't make sense, to find peace in knowing that my plan was working even when your heart was breaking. This chapter isn't about loss, it's about liberation. The people who left weren't meant to be part of your harvest. They were part of your pruning. And now that I've cut away what couldn't grow with you, I can finally bring what's been waiting to bloom. What's coming next will not ghost you. It will not confuse you. It will not make you question your worth. It will stay. It will choose you. It will mirror your growth, not drain it. But to receive it, you must stop chasing ghosts and start walking forward. Trust that the silence was sacred, the distance divine, and that I was in every unanswered call and unspoken goodbye. Because where I'm taking you, not everyone can come, and that's how I keep you safe. My child, I need you to understand that what feels like abandonment right now was actually me stepping in between you and destruction. You saw someone disappear without warning, but I saw a spirit that was no longer aligned with the light I placed inside you. You felt ignored, but I was removing an interference that would have drowned your peace if it stayed any longer. There were conversations that you were never meant to hear, betrayals that would have crushed your confidence, and intentions behind their smile that would have poisoned your heart slowly. So I silenced their access, I cut the connection before the damage became irreversible. You keep replaying that moment, wondering if you did something wrong, but this isn't about fault, it's about timing, protection, and purpose. You ask me for peace, and sometimes peace comes through subtraction, not addition. The absence that hurts the most is often the evidence that heaven intervened. I removed them not because I wanted you alone, but because I needed you unentangled. I couldn't pour new oil into a vessel still contaminated with residue from the past. You prayed for a breakthrough, and I answered by ending a connection you kept resuscitating. What you call ghosting was actually deliverance. They didn't vanish, I covered your eyes so you wouldn't see what they were about to do. Because had you witnessed it, it would have broken something in you that would take years to rebuild. My mercy blocked your curiosity. My love prevented your self-destruction. You don't owe them closure, because I already closed that chapter. You don't need their apology, because I already justified your tears. You don't have to chase an explanation, because I've already written your vindication in heaven. And now, my beloved, I'm calling you to stop scrolling through old messages, stop checking if they've reached out, stop keeping the wound open by revisiting the place I healed you from. I need your hands free to receive what's next. You cannot embrace your promise while holding on to a ghost. Let me fill the silence with peace, let me replace what left with what lasts. The person who ghosted you wasn't your anchor, they were your distraction. I needed to clear the fog so you could finally see your path again. There are people ahead of you who will speak your name with honor, who will understand your spirit without you needing to explain it, who will stay not because of what you give, but because of who you are. But before they arrive, you must stop calling the old energy unfinished business. It's not unfinished, it's resolved in the spirit. The moment I told them to go, your destiny began to breathe again. The path you're on now is purified. The silence that once haunted you will soon become sacred ground, the same space where I'll whisper new instructions and divine opportunities. You see, not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some are scaffolds, they support your growth but must be removed when the structure is strong enough to stand alone. You reached that point. You no longer needed their validation, their half-love, or their inconsistent presence to feel whole. And because of that, their spirit became restless around you. They could feel you elevating, even if they didn't understand it. The light inside you began to irritate the darkness they refused to confront. That's why their words changed, why they distanced themselves, why their energy shifted suddenly. It was your spirit expanding, and they're shrinking. I allowed it to happen quietly so that when I blessed you openly, there would be no debate about who was responsible for your rise. It was me all along. I wanted you to see that even when people vanish, I remain. Even when their silence is loud, my voice is louder. You will not be forgotten, my child. You are simply being hidden until the right eyes can see you. So take this season not as punishment, but as preservation. Use this quiet to rebuild your confidence in me, not in the validation of others. Use their absence as proof that I am near. Because I never let anything or anyone leave your life unless it serves a greater spiritual purpose. The removal was not rejection, it was preparation. I am pruning you for fruit that will last, refining you through isolation so that your discernment becomes unshakable. Soon, the same silence that once broke your heart will become the sound of peace. The same loneliness that felt unbearable will feel like sacred intimacy between us. And when the new connection arrives, when the people I send begin to recognize your worth without you having to prove it, you will understand that ghosting was grace, and separation was salvation. What's ahead of you requires a healed heart, clear vision, and unshakable faith. And that's exactly what I'm forming in you through this silence. So stop waiting for them to return. Stop waiting for the why. The answer is simple: I loved you too much to let them stay. My beloved, the truth you've been trying to run from is that my no was never meant to hurt you, it was meant to hold you. You've been mistaking my divine protection for rejection because you can't yet see the full picture of what I'm building. That person who ghosted you wasn't meant to walk into your future, because they couldn't survive the altitude of where I'm taking you. I know it feels unfair, I know your mind replays the memories like broken film, trying to find the frame where it all went wrong, but child, it never went wrong, it went right according to heaven's design. You thought you lost something good, but I had to remove what was comfortable to make room for what's covenant. They didn't reject you, they released you on my command, even if they didn't understand why they felt that pull away. I whispered in their spirit to step back, because the version of you they were attached to no longer existed. You've grown too much, learned too much, healed too much, and I couldn't allow someone anchored in old patterns to drag you back into them. You keep saying, God, if you wanted them gone, why did you let me love them so deeply? Because love was never the mistake, it was the classroom. Through that love, I taught you discernment, boundaries, compassion, and the beauty of letting go before it destroys you. Through that heartbreak, I made your spirit more sensitive to my voice, your intuition sharper, your your dependence stronger. Every tear that fell became a seed of wisdom, every unanswered message became a reminder that your worth is not measured by someone else's silence. I needed you to learn that lesson now so that when the next blessing arrives, you'll recognize what's divine and what's disguised. I know how much you miss their presence, but I also see how much lighter your spirit feels without their confusion. That isn't coincidence, that's confirmation. You're not losing peace, you're regaining it. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. Look closer at your life since they left. Notice how your creativity has started to return, how the fog is slowly lifting, how you're hearing my whispers more clearly now that the noise is gone. You thought their absence was emptiness, but really it was clarity returning. The spiritual interference they carried was clouding your ability to move forward, so I had to separate you before the next door opened. Because this next chapter cannot be entered with attachments that drain your faith. The promise waiting ahead requires spiritual maturity, and maturity only grows in solitude. You've been crying, God, why does it feel like everyone I love leaves? But I've been whispering, because everyone I send must have the strength to stay. I'm preparing someone whose love won't vanish when things get difficult, someone who will mirror the stability of my presence, someone whose loyalty won't shake when storms come. You needed to experience the wrong ones to recognize the right one. You needed silence to hear the difference between counterfeit comfort and divine connection, and now, I want you to shift your focus. Don't look back at who disappeared, look forward to who's about to appear. The next encounter will not feel forced, it will flow. It will carry peace instead of anxiety, alignment instead of confusion. But before you can receive that, you must release this idea that you were unworthy of staying for. You were not too much. You were simply too anointed for someone who wasn't ready to grow. I didn't let them ghost you to break your confidence, I did it to reveal your strength. You have no idea how many traps I've already dismantled behind the scenes, how many conversations I blocked, how many betrayals I turned into blessings. You were shielded from information that would have scarred you, protected from energy that would have destroyed your calling. That's how deeply I love you. So don't see their silence as loss. See it as the sound of heaven rearranging your path. Soon, my child, you will thank me for every unanswered call, every seen message, every door that never reopened. Because you'll realize that ghosting was not rejection, it was redirection, toward peace, toward purpose, toward people who will never make you question your worth. When that day comes, when you look back and see how everything you prayed for started falling into place after that person left, you'll know it was never about what you lost, but about what I was preparing. I am not done with you. The story isn't over, it's being rewritten in glory. Your heart is healing, your spirit is awakening, and your destiny is aligning. So stop chasing closure from people I've already removed. The closure you're searching for is found in my presence. Let me fill that space they left. Let me show you that their exit was your entrance into freedom. Because I didn't let them ghost you to leave you empty. I did it so that when the blessing arrives, you'll finally be whole enough to receive it without fear. And when that day comes, you'll smile not because they're gone, but because you finally understand that my protection was never punishment. It was proof that I have plans for you that no one's absence can stop.